What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Down Dog Athletics Podcast, a competitor's guide to mental health and mastery. I'm your host, Paul Klingen. Down Dog Athletics, my mission, the brand's mission, is to bridge the gap between yoga, meditation for men and athletes especially, but really everyone, just because I'm such a big believer that those are different ways that people can find the mental health to really balance out the physical health that athletes are so good at finding themselves so often encouraged. If you go pick up any men's health magazine, very few things promoting mental health. A lot of things in society promotes physical health. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll just make a podcast. And with this being episode 13, 14 of probably 10,000, it's already been worth it. And just really appreciate everyone who's reached out, left ratings, left reviews, subscribed. If you haven't yet, would love it if you could. That helps get us ranked. Got an email just today saying that I'm up on the charts. Super low. I'll tell you when it's a little bit higher. But it's just exciting just to see it grow, see people listen to it. If you do ever get any value or you're listening right now, just share it on social media, tag me so that I know you're listening. Really appreciate that. Before I get into kind of what I want to talk about today, just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Live Better Co. Their retreat's coming up in November. They've got 4 spots left. About to hang with these guys. Super cool. Went on the retreat last November to El Salvador. Really was life-changing. It's a week of surfing, yoga, just a bunch of different workshops on how you can literally live a better life. So if you use the code DownDogAthletics, or you just mention me or the podcast when you have your conversation with them, you can get $200 off, which is a good chunk of change, and I can guarantee you that it will be the best week ever. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, reach out to Brett or Jason. I had them on my podcast, episode 3. It's been the highest rated podcast, so if you're not sure who these guys are, listen to that. You'll enjoy it. And then just go to livebetterco.org. You can do some research on the retreat itself, or you can shoot them a message, Jason or Brett, on social media, or their Live Better Co handle, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. So this last weekend, I was up in Vancouver, Canada. It's a gorgeous city, super fun city. I'd been there a couple times, but I was up there for the Seawees Half Marathon. And 10 months ago, if you would have asked me if I was going to run it, I would have said, hell no, because I am not a runner. It is a long run, 13.1 miles, and to pay for that seemed like kind of paying for torture. But had a few Lululemon ambassadors in Seattle that talked me into it, and when it came time and we actually got picked, what's crazy about this half marathon is 30,000 people apply, only 10,000 get in. So even if you are one of the best runners ever and you do everything right, you still might not even get a chance to do it. So when I realized I had that opportunity, I was like, all right, I got to do it. And I'm so glad I did. It was one of the best weekends I've ever had. The run was really fun. I'll get more detail about that. But just everything about the city, about the event, some of the best vibes ever. I got there Friday and was able to do a little men's workshop. And one of the guys leading it was Charlie Dark, a global run ambassador. And one of the things that I learned from that even was just the idea of preparing the mind. We do so many things to warm up the body. You do your stretching, your dynamic warm-up, your prime, your activation, all these different things. But how often do you go into, whether it's work, whether you go into a game, and you do that kind of maintenance on your mind where Lululemon does this great thing where you clear things before a meeting. So if something's on your mind, you got to clear it before you go into what it is you guys are going to work on. But at the same time, you can also be like, all right, what do I want to be super grateful for going into this? And then that kind of sets your mind into a position where it's going to be positive, where it's going to help you going forward into whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So that was the first big lesson learned for me. The second one, I'll just say, is that confidence comes with preparation. And because I'd never run a half marathon before, because I have friends who are runners, I took this a little bit more serious than I might have. There's definitely missed opportunities in the training, whether that's eating right, getting proper amount of sleep, whether that's actually hitting every single run that I said I was going to do. There was times when my body was just smoked and I just got to lift in instead. And it's hard to really know what the perfect amount is for different people. I just grabbed something online, but definitely had a lot of help, whether that was taking berries and having the opportunity to just run. So shout out to the instructors who just let me run for 50 minutes. Have some buddies who are coaches and they were able to walk me through kind of how I want to think about it from a training perspective. But really coming back to that quote, confidence comes from preparation. This is one of the first times I'd gone into a competition where I was so dialed in and so focused. I woke up the morning of the race, played Jesus Walks, and I was ready to run through a wall. And part of that confidence came from in training actually having ran a half marathon where I clocked it at 1:43. My goal going into training was 1:45. That's an hour, 45 minutes. And so I just reset. I was like, all right, my new goal is 1:35. And going into the race, that's 8 minutes faster than I'd ever ran a half marathon before. I'd never done an event like a long distance race where it's organized. I just had ran this one in training. But even just that there, I'd already done it. So I can feel confident knowing that I had the physical capability of doing it. And that's, I think, what gave me so much confidence. I think back to whether it's baseball in college or a presentation, or if you're doing something where you got to perform, if you've already done it and you've prepared and you've done and you rehearsed and you feel super solid about what it is that you're about to share, then you're not going to be as worried about it. But if you're going in and you're kind of just winging it, well, no wonder you're not as confident. You haven't already done it before. And you can visualize that helps a lot with opportunities where maybe you haven't done this before and it's the first time. Everyone has something that is the first time that they've done it. But when you're prepared and you know that you've done everything that you can do to be successful in the situation that you're going to be in, then that's where confidence comes. So I have this idea that I'm going to run a 1:35, and by the time the race is over, I cross the finish line 1:30:06, and that is my first half marathon that I've ever ran, and it was 96th out of around 10,000 people for the race. And I'm not going to say that I didn't train or that I'm not a runner, not an athlete, because I definitely am. That all played a huge role in it. But then there's also like, this is my first time. I thought I was going way too fast out of the gate when 3 miles in, my Nike Run Club's like, average pace 6:35. I was like, wow, I wouldn't run below a 7 in training. And I know for me, I would attribute that to being a gamer. In sports, you call someone a gamer when they might practice at a pretty high level, but then when game time comes on, they step up. And you hear a lot of debate between whether there should be a step up or not. Some people believe 100% you practice how you play. If you are not 100% dialed in practice, then it's going to trickle over into game time. I 100% see that side of things. What I can say is that as soon as I started running, I was running a minute faster than I was training at. And so I do believe that when the adrenaline hits and you get in that moment and I just see bodies in front of me, I'm like, all right, that's one person. That's one person. I'm just going to keep passing people. I had this mindset when I was running that everyone that I passed, it wasn't that I was competing against them. They were daily goals. They were weekly goals. And I knew that if I just kept my head down, kept running at the pace I was running, I was eventually going to catch them, because I knew that I wasn't going to slow down. They would slow down before me. So if they were 100 yards in front of me, 100 feet in front of me, 10 feet in front of me, if I just kept going, I was convinced that I was just going to out-endurance them. And so that's what they are. Weekly goal, weekly goal, weekly goal. And over the course of 8 miles, you just knock out hundreds of weekly goals in the form of people. When I started the race at the front finish line, I was way back with the groups of people that were projected or thinking that they were going to run the 2 hour pace. They're going to run the half marathon in 2 hours. And part of me thinks that I should have gone up to the front, but part of me thinks that it was an advantage for that reason, because I got this momentum of just catching people, that I was able to be faster than. Eventually, I wasn't able to catch people because I got into the top 100 racers in the race, and that was no longer possible. But if I had started in the front and everyone was so fast, I think it might have affected my mindset. I don't know. It's 50-50 because I wasted a ton of energy and a lot of slowing down in order to get through kind of the hordes of people. I remember when the race started, I was like, wow, I do not want in a zombie apocalypse. I want nothing to do with that, because running in this crowd of people is absolute chaos, and I'm going to get ran over and eaten by a zombie. Side tangent. But I don't know. I'd be interested if any runners are listening to this, shoot me a message on what the best strategy is, because I could definitely see both sides of the coin being super beneficial. But the reason why I wanted to record this podcast specifically right after this race is for 3 reasons. I want to share the 3 things that really helped me, but I also think it's kind of a unique perspective where I've never run a race. And if you're listening to this and you've never done, whether it's a race or it's something that you're afraid of, at the end of the day, running is super mental, and starting a business, doing something that takes a ton of endurance and a ton of mental strength is going to be very similar to running a half marathon or marathon. So everyone is at some point going to have to run their first long distance race, or you're going to have to do some sort of task or long-term project that you're going to have these kind of mindsets that I'm going to talk about. But also, if you do, like, I didn't run a slow race. I ran a 1:30, which was pretty quick. And so I think anyone listening that has run races can definitely take from this as well, because what slowed me down was not my body. My body could have kept going faster. It was all mind stuff. So if you can take this either as a first time runner, second time runner, I bet 100th runner even could just think of things a little bit different. Hopefully, I give you that different perspective. But one of the first things I did when I woke up, like I said, I listened to Jesus Walks, ready to run through the wall, and I wanted to do a meditation. So I did a little yoga, got feeling loose, got feeling great, but then I wanted to take a bath. I don't know, I just took a bath, and in there I did a body scan, but rather than just like a regular body scan, I started to talk to the different parts of my body from the feet up. So I felt my feet, rolled them left, right, and then was just like, for whatever reason, I was like, I'm grateful for my feet. They're going to be the foundation of every step that I take throughout this race. May they never fail me. Then I moved up to my knees, and I was a catcher in college, so my knees definitely have taken their fair share of beatings, but I just thank them for helping move my legs, and I kind of treated them like an old wooden ship where I was just like, if they start to get sore, thank you guys so much for everything you've done, but I know that she'll hold. I know that she'll hold and give me what I need for this race. And I just kept moving up my body all the way up to my lungs. I thanked them, told them they were going to be the real MVP and that I needed them for every inhale and exhale. And I just thanked them for the life that they give me when I breathe, because I knew if I could control my breath, then I'd be able to control everything else. I wouldn't get too tired. And just moved all the way up to my mouth, my eyes. But that for me was so powerful, because when I was in the race and those different parts of my body would get sore. My feet would get sore. My knees would get sore. Hip flexor got a little bit tight. My breath maybe got a little winded, or my mouth was dry when I was running. I was just like, hey, I hear you, man. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. I just need you to keep going a little bit longer. And for me, this is where the yoga practice and the meditation and just the awareness that I've built up with those practices really came into play, because I've talked a lot about different athletic mindsets, and I work out a ton, and I've been an athlete my whole life. But without this kind of focus and this positivity and gratitude, there's no way I would have ran as fast as I did. But what that did was it allowed me to say, hey, pain, I feel you. I see you. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me. Just keep going a little bit longer, which is just like meditation, where you have that thought come in. You're like, hey, distracting thought, I see you. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to go back to what I'm focusing on. And for me, what I was focusing on was dominating this race. The next thing that I did, I kind of laugh about, because I didn't realize in races you're supposed to not have earphones in, or at least not in both ears. So I didn't realize so many people could hear me. But anytime I had a hill, or I had some time where my body or mind was like, this is really hard. I can't keep going. And I would just say, good. And if you've ever heard of Jocko Willink, I'll link to this podcast or hit this YouTube video specifically. He's an ex-Navy SEAL commander, just like the badass of badasses. And he's got this motivation YouTube video where he just sits there and goes, good, good. And it'll be like, it's super early and you don't want to get up. Good. If it was easy, everyone else would do it. So I would get to a hill and I was like, good, good, good. Literally every 10 steps, I would just say good, because I tried to adopt this mindset of hard times being good. Hills are good, because at the top of the hill, at the top of the mountaintop, is that beautiful view and that valley, and everything that you've been working so hard to get to is at the top of any hard obstacle. It's at the top of any mountain. It's at the top of any hill. And so, yeah, people might be running that hill with me, but the whole time I'm just yelling, good, good, good. Because if I could have that attacking, that aggressive mindset into that hill, rather than letting that hill dictate to me, I'm dictating to the hill that it's good. Hey, hill, I'm ready for you. Good. I want this hill to be harder. I want this hill to be longer, because I know when I get to the top, I'm going to beat so many other people because I attack that hill rather than letting that hill attack me. The last tip or tool that I want to share is the mantra that I repeated. And I think anyone can come up with whatever mantra it is. And again, this is something that I grabbed from my meditation practice. But if you have something that you're focusing on and you notice that you're getting distracted, maybe you're starting to doubt yourself, you're starting to worry that your feet won't hold up, or whatever those negative thoughts that creep in. And when you got to run for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, oh yeah, negative thoughts, they start to creep in. But when you have that mantra, that thing that recenters your focus, it really helps to block out the disturbing thoughts, because you can't think about something else when you're super focused on whatever that mantra is, whether that's your breath in meditation. But I just repeated hundreds of times, fear and doubt cannot exist where joy and belief thrive. And I would just say that over and over and over. Part of that joy, that gratitude, was what I cultivated when I did that body scan. And so you can be like, oh man, my hip's really hurting. I don't know if I can keep going. And meanwhile, your pace, your splits are just dropping, 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 because you're so focused on the pain rather than being, man, hip flexors. Feel you guys. Thank you guys so much for powering on. I know that you got another 2 miles in you. Let's go. Same thing, your feet. Feet, I know you're taking a beating. Thank you so much for being the foundation of every step that I take. Keep going. And then, that's where the belief comes in too, where you have this thought and this belief that like I can keep going, or you have this thought and belief that you can't keep going. And so when fear and doubt are running through your head when you're running, you're going to slow down, you're going to stop, you're going to walk. But I just kept repeating to myself, no, that stuff's not going to exist, because joy and belief are thriving in my mind right now. And one of the things that also helped with that is curating my playlist so that it would facilitate a motivated mindset. And I'm really big into EDM, and I would just find songs that, one, got me hyped because they were 1,000 beats per minute, epic drops. But for example, there's a song, Barricade, where it's, we are the future, live today, get up, erase the barricade. And so when that song came on, I was like, all right, that's right, I'm creating my future. This next hill, this next little turn that I'm taking, this is that wall. I'm going to smash through it. I'm going to erase the barricade. And so it's little things, but because I'm using that song to channel belief, I'm focusing on that rather than focusing on how tired I am. There's another song that came on, the Avicii, Without You, where, I'm going Bonnie and Clyde Without You. And this was the anniversary of a loved one passing away. And I was just like, hey, not with us anymore, but I need you right here. I need you on this hill. And literally just taking every lyric that I could find and turning it in a way that was going to motivate me and give me the belief that I could keep going, or that I was like an absolute savage. And as soon as I saw this person ahead of me 100 meters and I could feel that beat coming, and then boom, as soon as it hits, I just blow past that person and I just keep that pace going. It's because you're focused on the music, you're focused on the melody, you're focused on the lyrics specifically. That for me, I also think about different songs that I put in intentionally because I knew the last time I saw that song or that artist perform that song live, I was the happiest I'd ever been, or like peaked really, whether that's traveling or at a concert. And it's like, if that's what's filling up my mind when I'm racing, some of the happiest times that I've been, and I know that I could dance for 7 hours straight and be really tired because I'm focused on the music, it's not as tiring. So I'm like, all right, I'm running for an hour and a half. If I focus on that, I can keep going. I will say the one time where I did slow down, and this is my fault because I don't know how far a half marathon is in kilometers, but my watch said I was at like 11.5. My Nike Run Club app said I was at 12.5. So I'm like, all right, I'm either a couple miles out or I really need to be turning it on for this last little bit. And I remember yelling at some girl like right next to me. I was like, hey, how many kilometers is this thing? And she probably thought I was the biggest idiot. She's like, wait, you signed up for a half marathon? You don't know how far it is? But I didn't know the kilometers. I was trying to do different conversions in my head. It's really hard to carry the one and divide by two when you're super tired and you've already ran 12 miles. But I guess that would be maybe another tip, is know how far it is you're running depending on the country, because they were never going to put it in miles. As far as how far I was from the finish line, it was always going to be kilometers. So that was an opportunity where I could have gone a little bit faster if I would have known I was literally half a mile away. But hey, that's all right. Again, just really hopeful, or hope that this gave you some different tools, different mindset things. It doesn't have to be running specific. I think this can be applied to any sport. I think this can be applied to any project that you're working on. I think it can be applied to really anything. Like you should always be grateful for your body. Like I drove by a homeless man today, and the guy didn't have any legs. I was like, man, thank you feet, thank you knees. It's just we're just so blessed, and we just take it for granted. But if we just focus on that, so many negative things can exist when you just got a huge garden of positivity trees. But anyway, thank you guys again so much for listening to my little talk about the Lululemon Seawees half marathon. Amazing time. I'm definitely going to do it again next year if I get in, and I recommend everyone else do it because it's an amazing company. Vancouver's an amazing city. The event is flawless. So many cool different artists played. Cascade played. They had a ton of different yoga classes that you could do, and just an overall amazing time. So without that, I'll sign off and hope to catch you guys next time on the Down Dog Athletics Podcast. Take it easy.